here. I'm excited to be here as well. My name is Coleen Bornschlegel, as Brenda said, and it is an honor to speak to you today about the arts and humanities in the Quad Cities as part of the Charlotte Hall Museum 2024 lecture series on arts and culture in our community. We are fortunate to live in a community that is saturated with the arts and humanities, and what a wonderful thing, right? Love it. Prescott has a reputation of being a creative community, and the arts and humanities are present across the entire Quad Cities region, not just Prescott. So today I'm going to start by defining the arts and humanities. Might be speaking to the choir a little bit, but that's okay, or preaching to the choir rather. And then I want to ask the question, why do the arts and humanities matter? Then I'm going to share a little bit about myself and my background and how I ended up here in the Quad Cities. And then the Quad Cities, which we belovedly call Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Dewey-Humboldt, and then beyond the Quad Cities, perhaps, Mayor. Then I will share more about some of my favorite public art pieces and cultural treasures in the area that I've discovered since I arrived here almost to the day 10 years ago, which is really kind of cool. I did want to make a note. Some of the pictures that I have in the slideshow are pretty pixelated because they were just your 35 millimeter camera photos. So if you wanted to look at some of those with more detail, I do have a portfolio book out in the foyer where you can take a look at a little bit more detail on some of those photos. They're not in order, but they're there, so you can take a look if you'd like. My high school speech coach actually, he told us to never quote a dictionary definition in our speech because it was cliche, but sorry, Mr. Hens. So what are the arts and humanities? Encyclopedia Britannica defines the arts as modes of expression that use skill or imagination in the creation of aesthetic objects, environments, or experiences that can be shared with others. That includes literature, poetry, drama, story, also the visual arts, painting, drawing, sculpture, which is my personal favorite, the graphic arts, painting, drawing, design, and other forms expressed on flat surfaces, the plastic arts, sculpture, modeling, the decorative arts, enamel work, furniture design, mosaics, etc. The performance arts, theater, dance, and music, and then music as a composition is also considered the arts, and also architecture, which often includes interior design. So what are the humanities? The humanities are defined as those branches of knowledge that concern themselves with human beings and their culture, or with analytical and critical methods of inquiry derived from an appreciation of human values and of the unique ability of the human spirit to express itself. The humanities include the study of all languages and literature, the arts, so the arts are part of the humanities, history, and also philosophy. So some of you have probably heard of the National Endowment for the Arts. It was established in 1965, and it is an independent federal agency that is the largest funder of the arts and arts education in communities nationwide, and it is a catalyst of public and private support for the arts. When the NEA was established in 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson addressed the council and said, "There's a quality in art which speaks across the gulf in dividing man from man, and nation from nation, and century from century. That quality confirms the faith that our common hopes may be more enduring than our conflicting hostilities." So why do the arts matter? I know why they matter, but not everyone does. NEA staffers were asked this question, and there were many ideas on why the arts and humanities matter. And here are a few that I found the most striking. The arts matter because we matter, and our stories matter. We are moving miracles, walking creators, engaging in a cosmic dance. The art we express is timeless. Muhammad Sharif. Art matters because it illustrates the human experience, the wonder of it, the bewilderment of it, the whimsy of it, and so much more. We would not be connected so deeply without support. Kathleen Dinsmore. The arts matter because they are like a gift from one soul to another. Whether it's a joyful, simple, like a child's drawing, or a play or novel that makes you think and hurt and wish and feel, the arts themselves and each other. I cried, actually. I get kind of emotional. I cried a little bit when I was looking through some of these statements from people of why the arts matter to them. So, why do the arts matter to you? I would love for you to consider that question. And I invite you to share at the end, as long as I don't go on too long and we have enough time. I'd love to hear from some of you of why the arts matter to you. So now I'd like to share a little bit about myself and some of my background. I am a longtime presenter and performer. This is me, circa 1989, at my first public presentation, or performance rather. Notice I have laser focus on Mrs. Canope's hands. I am waiting and watching for the signal that it's time to begin. That's the only thing I'm paying attention to in that moment, I remember. So I was born number three of four daughters in Rifle, Colorado, to an exquisite family. This loving group, both immediate and extended, is full of artists, inventors, philosophers, storytellers, seamstresses, master gardeners, and singers in church mostly, but beautiful and always a cappella. But my family is a group of all-around good and creative folks, and I am a fortunate individual. In Rifle, Colorado, we had a little culture, we had a little sculpture, but Rifle was pretty limited. For those of you who don't know, Rifle is on the western slope of Colorado. It's right between Grand Junction and Glenwood, kind of in that area. And actually, when I moved here, it was striking of how similar the terrain is from here, the area here to western Colorado. So when I was in the freshman year before my high school year, my family and I went on a road trip from Colorado to Northern California to Southern California to drop off my oldest sister off at college. San Francisco was amazing, with its diverse public art, ornate and unique architecture, and Chinatown. Being in the city sparked a sense of freedom and desire to see more of the world. And that opportunity to see more of the world arose in the summer of 2002 when after my senior year of high school, when I went to Europe. And we visited Berlin, Heidelberg, Budapest, Prague, Vienna, and Munich by bus over the course of 2 weeks. It was a whirlwind trip, abundant with bears in Berlin. It's the first time I'd ever seen one of those sculpture projects. They're multiple all over the city, and they get painted by different artists. So this was just one of them, but they were all over the place. And that was back in 2002, and that was the first time I'd ever seen that. And I've seen it around quite a bit. It's a pretty cool project. And then, sorry, I just lost I get these thoughts, and then I lose track of where I'm going. So the Berlin Bears were amazing. Art and castles in every city, and street musicians were on every corner. Here's me with one of my classmates being a true tourist, crawling all over the artwork. Shame, shame. And then Prague was my favorite. I would like to go back to Prague someday. The art was familiar but different and new. The sculptures were preserved from the destruction of past wars, and the city felt old but fresh, like a storybook world. And I also found a sculpture that was a doppelganger of a friend of mine from back home named Will. I put a picture there next to, I don't know if you could see, it was like striking. He is also like 7 feet tall, whatever it is. He's a really tall guy, and I went back and forth whether or not to share this with you, but I just wanted to honor him. He actually passed away about 10 years ago in a plane crash. So, Will, we miss you. So, Prague was beautiful. So when I returned to Rifle, I was sorely disappointed with the lack of art and intrigue, so I sat with Mark Twain until it was time to head off to Portland, Oregon. So note on this one, it's pretty pixelated, as I said, so I've got the picture more closely back there, but I wanted to point out, and this I didn't realize until I was putting this presentation together, that's the Garfield County Public Library. For those of you who know me, libraries hold a very special place in my heart, and I always seem to gravitate to the local library in all of my travels, and that is always the best place to find art. It's at the library. So, during my time in Portland, I attended Portland State University and I graduated in 2008 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Fine Arts with a printmaking emphasis. This here on the left is the Pioneer Courthouse Square in downtown Portland, and it is way in the back. If you don't know if you can see this guy here, that's the Umbrella Man, also known as, and he is an iconic sculpture in Portland, and it is officially titled Allow Me, and it was a 1983 bronze sculpture by John Seward Johnson II. And I always thought this was an interesting, iconic sculpture in Portland because nobody uses an umbrella in Portland. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then on the right is a statue of Abraham Lincoln, 15 feet tall, gigantic. He was on the park blocks downtown Portland. It was immense. And I say it was because unfortunately this sculpture was one of the sculptures that was toppled down, unfortunately, in the 2020 riots. Just as a cultural reference connection there, art matters, but it's also provoking. So whatever reason why people are tearing down the artwork, it's part of the story of art and history, I believe. So yeah, Abraham Lincoln. So the time came when I wanted to live closer to my family again. So in 2013, I followed my parents to Prescott, Arizona. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I love them. I felt an instant affinity to the Prescott area and the vibrant arts community here, and I have lived in the Quad Cities ever since. Sometimes people ask to see my artwork, so this is a shameless display of my artwork. The photo on the left is actually my first public art show right out of college. It was in a grimy venue downtown Portland, and it was awesome. And then the photo on the right is actually just a couple months ago. My friend Laura Molinaro and I, she's a photographer. She and I had this wild idea to do a duo show. As you can see, I am not a photographer. So it actually was a really interesting mixed media show that we are looking forward to doing another one in November at the Mountain Artists Guild. Let's see. Yes. So mine are and those are actually tissue paper collage. I use like a watered down paste and then use various tissue papers and found collage pieces to do some of my artwork currently. And these over here are prints. So these are fine art, what you call a collograph, which is the idea. Sorry, I got to be careful not to go off too much on topic. But collographs are the idea of building a collage upward to create like a relief block that you can then print. So that is that. So now, the reason why we are here. The picture on the right, the picture here shows the Quad Cities regional area. We're all very familiar with this area. I imagine we've got people in this room that are from this whole region. Raise your hand if you're from Prescott. Okay, Prescott Valley. Dewey. All right, Chino Valley. You got any Chino Valley? Awesome. And we have any mayor residents? No mayor. Okay, cool. Well, it looks like we've got the entire Quad Cities covered, so that's exciting. So this is the Prescott area. So as Brenda had mentioned, in 2021 I became part of the Prescott Area Arts and Humanities Council, and I am currently the sitting president of that organization. A brief history there, for those of you who don't know. The Prescott Area Arts and Humanities Council's mission is to support and advocate for the arts, humanities, and cultural communities of the greater Prescott area. PAC was actually established in 1974, and it is the oldest art advocacy organization in the state of Arizona. The nonprofit was actually started by Elizabeth Ruffner and other local citizens who wanted to preserve, support, and advocate for the arts and humanities in their community. One of their first great accomplishments was preserving a number of historic buildings in the area from being demolished. Thank you, Elizabeth and friends. Yes, absolutely. Well before 1974, it was recognized that the arts and humanities mattered in our community. Citizens wanted to develop support for the arts across the Prescott area, not just Prescott, so they named the organization the Prescott Area Arts and Humanities Council, creating PAC. An example of a really incredible regional program is the Prescott Area Artist Studio Tour. Who in here is familiar with that program? Okay, a few of you, great. So let me tell you about it. So the Prescott Area Artist Studio Tour is a nonprofit organization, and the tour is planned, organized, and managed by a committee of local artists. It's quite the undertaking, and it is such a cool event in our Quad Cities. That's their acronym. So we'll just call it the tour. So the tour website explains their program as a celebration of the arts and the artists in the Prescott Quad City area. It is a free 3-day event which allows you to visit private artists' studios and see the artists in action and learn how they create their art and purchase unique art for yourself or as gifts. The tour highlights artisans at work throughout the Quad Cities, and it's actually coming up in October, so you still have plenty of time to invite all your friends and family to town and get that weekend cleared so that you can go check out some local studio tours. It is the 5th through the 7th. And catalogs will be out later this month, so if you are out and about and you see a catalog at a restaurant table or one of the local galleries, grab one and take a look through it, and you'll see bios and artwork, and you'll be able to pick and choose some really great artists. You can go take a look and check out their private studios in their hometown or wherever their home is. So as you can see, we've got artist studios in Chino Valley and Paulden, West Prescott, Central Prescott, East Prescott, so all the areas of Prescott, Williamson Valley, North Prescott, and then also Prescott Valley and Dewey. We'll plug for the Prescott Valley studio tour because I know we've got a couple artists who are going to be participating in that. Studio 46, Prescott Valley. All right, so this is, as you all know, Thumb Butte. And we already know there is so much going on in Prescott. So I am going to share about some of my favorites about venues and performances and public art, and just some of my personal favorite things that are in the area, and then also a personal passion of mine, some avenues around printmaking. So Prescott is, as I just said, full. The Elks Theater, here on the left, you can see the elk sculpture that's up on the top of the building. The Elks Theater was actually one of the historic buildings that was rescued from demolition by PAC years ago. The Elks Historic Theater and the Elks Performing Arts Center are actually two separate venues, and over the years, numerous events, playgroups, historical reenactments, and talented musicians and performers have graced those spaces and stage. My favorite galleries in Prescott are those that are active artist studios, such as the Art Hive. Such a cool place. If you haven't checked that out yet, go check it out. Or if you have already, go again. I think it is really exciting to see artists actually in action and doing their work and being able to engage with the artists. Is that the one on Cortez Street? Yep, the one on Cortez Street. And another couple of cool pieces that are within that studio is a toy shop called Toyful, and they have some of the coolest toys, and they have a lot of like locally made toys and interesting things, and it's a really fun shop. And there's also a framing shop within that whole space. So just the reuse of a cool old building, I love, and being able to rejuvenate that area is cool to check out. No, I thought about it though. I got a cool 3D printed dragon from one of the local high school artists. He prints dragons and cool fun toys and gadgets and things. Another active gallery is the conglomerate of studios found at the Art on 6th Street. How many of you heard of Art on 6th Street? Okay, cool, a few of you. Any of you artists with Art on 6th Street? That's definitely a possibility, no? Okay. That is on 6th Street, here, obviously. And they actually have 4 or 5 art shows where they open their studios and they sell their work about 4 or 5 times a year. The one coming up is in November. Another active studio that I want to mention is called the Prescott Fine Art Gallery. It's up at the Pine Ridge Marketplace, which is the former Gateway Mall. And there you can arrange private lessons, and you can even learn to paint like Bob Ross, which is what a cool, unique thing here in town. So for the performance arts, I got to also pick it up here. Man, halfway through, not even through Prescott yet. There's so much going on in our community. At the Elks Theater actually is a community soul dance that meets every Monday night. For those of you who are not familiar with what that might be, ecstatic dance, it's not a performance, it's a group dance session. People just move, and it is a really beautiful space. If that's something that's ever of interest to you, you should go check it out. It's on the 3rd floor of the Elks Performing Arts Center. There's also at the Elks Performing Arts Center is Prose Night, open mic, which is cool for those of you who may be interested in the spoken word. They meet on the 2nd Wednesday of the month, and that is a $5 admission to attend that. Also for spoken word, the Peregrine Bookstore hosts a monthly open mic poetry reading. You can either read poetry or just go to listen, and it's really a cool thing to see local poets share their work. And you can check out for upcoming schedules on the Peregrine website. So public art, as we know, is everywhere in Prescott. We've got sculptures and murals and memorials, and more to come thanks to the Granite Creek Trail. They changed it, not trail mural, Trail Art Project. Any of you part of that nonprofit in town, the Granite Creek, or at least familiar with it? They have been installing. First off, they started with murals. The Granite Creek mural, which I'm not going to go into detail because I know Dale Odell went into detail about our murals in the area earlier this summer, but they are shifting to art in general, and they're looking at adding sculptures throughout the town, so that's exciting to see more artwork there. For more sculptures, you also can find more at the library. You probably recognize this guy, the library lizard. He was created by a local artist named Heather Johnson Berry, and there's also a sculpture garden at Yavapai College. Are any of you familiar with the Yavapai College sculpture garden? Awesome. We've got a lot of cultured people in here. This is great. So that is an example. I apologize, I didn't get the name of this particular sculpture, but that's just one of them that are at the, I don't want to just skip over and call it the Yavapai College. It's John Mercuse. I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I will, if you want that information, I will get that for you. And then for, as I said, a personal passion of mine, there's actually a traditional type foundry here in Prescott. Did you guys know that? Have any of you ever heard of the Skyline Type Foundry? Yeah? Do you all know, I'm assuming you know what a type foundry is, because I have run into people my age that are like, what is that? Yes? Anyone not know what a type foundry is? Okay. Letterpress, newspapers. They used to take these cases, take all these letters, and there's one here in Prescott, out in Williamson Valley area, a traditional studio. So he does traditional letterpress. Not only, he actually creates the letterpress letters, so they do the whole foundry process, and people from all over the nation order traditional letterpress from him, and he actually teaches classes, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just got excited. So anyways, we have a type foundry here. Yeah?
I just wanted to ask about, isn't there a foundry down in Prescott Valley that's for sculpture?
Yes, ma'am, and we will talk about that, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And yes, that is one thing that I learned, that there are quite a few places where people, like not every city has 4 or 5 bronze or whatever metal foundries, and we have several in the Prescott area, but even within Arizona. So it is a cool resource that we have here in the community. And so, all right, so Skyline Type Foundry, as I was saying, they actually create these, and they have all the materials and tools, and they've actually been collecting when foundries have slowly been closing across the nation. Sky Shipley is one of the last traditional practice letterpress foundries, and he actually buys old collections. So he has some of like old machines, old letterpresses, it's amazing. And one of his mission is actually to preserve and perpetuate the ancient and esoteric craft of type founding, and to make new type available to the letterpress community at the lowest reasonable cost, consistent with a sustainable operation. Such a good mission statement. And in alignment with his mission, he teaches classes. They are intensive, I think 3 or 4 days, letterpress, full days, and he teaches you and will make sure you do it right. If you have any interest in exploring that world, it is really a fascinating class, and you learn a lot. It's amazing how much of these crafts just they're being lost. It's old crafts. All right. Oh, one other thing I want to mention, another shameless plug. I recently got involved with the printmaking department at Yavapai College. Great studio. They provide paper, which is unheard of. I can't believe it. And they will you can anticipate a printmaking show at the college in later this fall, which I'm very excited about. All right. So Prescott Valley, this is Glassford Hill. From sun-baked earth under starlit canopy, sprouting forth across the prairie, reaching, growing, embracing the sky, Prescott Valley, limitless. That was written by a gentleman named Gene Fogner in 1999, and in honor of this sculpture, which was the first official sculpture of the Art at the Center collection in Prescott Valley. It is at the Civic Center. Yep, it is actually, as you walk, if you park right in front of the Civic Center, it's just in the big courtyard area, right out front of the main entrance. Yeah, let's go check it out. So Art at the Center is a collection of sculptures that's located at the Civic Center campus and a handful of parks in the Prescott Valley, or in Prescott Valley. The collection has grown to over 40 sculptures over the past 20 years, and Limitless was the first of the collection. It was originally located down on Highway 69 on the east side of town, and it was made in 1989. So if you talk to anyone who has been here since 1989, they probably remember. Were any of you here? Do you remember it when it was on Highway 69? That's awesome. Very cool. I love it. So in 1999, it was moved to its current location. I was trying to find someone who actually saw it be, can you imagine? This thing's huge. I think my head would come to about here. So it's really a big piece. So that'd be a fun sight to see it coming down the highway. And so this piece, I wanted to make a point. Horny Toads, familiar. Heather Johnson, familiar. I didn't realize that she had done the sculpture in Prescott as well. So same artist. Obviously a fan of our local animal and nature. So this is called Here Comes the Sun. Not larger than life. It is a small little guy that just rests on top of a podium there and that is located inside the Civic Center building in Prescott Valley. So here's a little bit of a timeline. As I said, the collection is over 40 pieces, so I didn't want to go through the whole collection. As much as we all love art, there's only so much. So in 2006, Comb Over was installed by Brian Tubbs. He's a local artist. This piece actually, just a couple years ago, I think in 2021, we got a call that it had been damaged. It was a combination of some, maybe a little bit of vandalism, but mostly like kids loved swinging on it. There's a ballpark just close by, and actually the artist said he'd seen kids jumping on it, climbing on it, swinging around on it, and he loved it. He didn't mind. But after wear and tear, because it was installed in 2006. That's some years, and we know the harsh weather here, rain and the wind and the sun and everything. So it did get toppled, and this is a sandstone rock. It's on the top, and so that top heavy weight just with the wind. So we did. So the artist came and kind of took the pieces and recreated. So it's a little bit of a different design. This is the new design. So this is current, but the old one is similar but different. But they were thankful that they could have the artist fix that. So over here is Sunfish and Friends by an artist named Kim Welsh. It's actually a conglomerate of 4 different mosaic pieces. Have any of you been to the Prescott Valley Public Library? So this one probably looks familiar. This is the snail, and I love this story about the snail. So there's this big fish, and then there's a snail, and then there's a dragonfly, and there's a love triangle here. So the fish is in love with the dragonfly. The dragonfly is up high, doesn't even pay attention to the fish. The snail loves the fish, but the fish isn't paying attention to him, so the snail has a broken heart. So sad. I just thought it was a cute story. And then in 2012, as you all know, is our Arizona Centennial. And I'd heard a story one time that the state of Arizona wanted to do something real big for the Centennial, which is understandable. So they reached out to different communities and encouraged them to do something. I don't know more details. I don't know if there was like specifics or what, But the town of Prescott Valley decided they wanted to put in a monumental sculpture. Down here is, some people call her the Snake Lady. It's called Not So Gentle Tamer by Deb Gessner. And again, huge, 10-foot tall sculpture. Have any of you seen this piece along Lakeshore Road? So when this piece was installed, a big vision was created. The collection, I don't remember how many pieces, or I don't know how many pieces were in the collection at that time in 2012, but the people involved were really interested in, like, what if we had monumental sculptures all along Lakeshore, corner to corner? How cool would that be? So they started this vision. And they started it with this one here that was to commemorate the 2012 AZ Centennial. And it was, securing and successfully installing this bronze piece was a huge undertaking for the town. They had to raise thousands of dollars. I don't remember exactly how much they paid for this sculpture, but it was definitely a big cost, but it was worth it, and they did a lot of fundraising, and it is, I would say, probably one of my favorites in the collection. I really love that piece. Over here is Douglas the Dragon, which is located in the Children's Library. Very sweet little guy. And then we've got Grazing down here, which is at the base of Glassford Hill. Have any of you seen that, if you've climbed up or went over to Glassford Hill Road? Those are by an artist named Jean Galazan. Or I'm sorry, Douglas the Dragon is by, not Deb Gessner. Oh no, Barbara Brown. I apologize. Douglas the Dragon is by Barbara Brown. All right, and then as I mentioned earlier, the big vision of monumental sculptures from corner to corner, that came to fruition in 2020 when a generous donation was given to the town of Prescott Valley, and a portion of that was used to install two the same time, monumental sculptures. So that was a very generous donation, and the town of Prescott Valley was very grateful for being able to finish that 20-year vision. So we've got the obelisk, the Jenkins obelisk, that's on the corner of Skoog and Lakeshore on the west side of town. And then on the other corner, we've got Sharing the Land, which is here at the bottom. It's got two pronghorn and a javelina. And then there's also a large century plant there. And then this last year, they installed these map posts by an artist named Dylan Cook. He's a blacksmith. He actually recently moved his studio to Prescott Valley and from Prescott. And those are actually, I only was able to grab a few of those maps. There were just 4 out there, but there's some fold-out maps that show the entire collection, and and it has the artist and the title, and then and where it's located on the site. And those maps are stored in these map posts. So this metal sculpture up here on the top right corner that has the curly cues, it's got a little box on the top, and you can just pull out a map. And so next time someone comes to visit you, you can bring them, check them, give them a private tour of the art collection there. All right, so someone had mentioned a foundry in Prescott Valley. This is Ed Riley. He is the owner and founder of Bronzesmith Foundry, which was established in 1991, and they have been responsible for several of the bronze sculptures that are throughout the Prescott area, and even into northern Arizona, Flagstaff area to some degree. And the owner the owner here, Ed Riley, is standing next to the Jenkins obelisk, one of the panels that shows a little bit of the history of the Yavapai tribe when they lived here previously. All right, Main Street Theater is also a fun project that was completed thanks to another generous donation. The Miranda Trust was given to the town of Prescott Valley and actually had been sort of on hold for several years, and then came up to be able to be used. A portion of that went to the Main Street Theater to help them complete their build of their theater. So for those of you who don't know, they had started building this theater like 20 years ago, and they had slowly started putting in the floors and then putting in everything, and they still hadn't quite gotten it finished. So in 2022, they finally got the building completed. So they are now open, and they have performances, and you should go check out a show sometime. And it is actually right next door to the Findlay Toyota Center, so it's just right next. And that land actually was also donated by the Fanes for the Main Street Theater. So the entire community has really been supportive of the Prescott Valley Performing Arts for the last several years, and now they have a home, so it's very exciting. All right, do my time check, make sure. Ooh, I gotta speed up. All right, so Chino Valley. I could only think of one, lock, stock, and barrel. Are you familiar with that one as you were driving it? There was a couple of you were from Chino Valley, right? So you guys have seen that one. I'm sure the rest of you have. These are the horses that are in the roundabout. They actually were installed in 2013, and a portion of the grant that was given to do this was actually through beautification grant, and the retaining wall that says Chino Valley was also part of this project. So that was all sort of encompassed in this grant. And the artist is actually from North Carolina. His name is John Hare, and he was working on the plans for quite a while in 2010, installed 2013, and then finally in 2016, by community request, they wanted to name them. So they did a competition, and a woman named Mamie Timlick back in 2016 submitted her ideas of those names, and she won it. They loved it. So the lock, stock, and barrel. Barrel is the one that's up on his hind legs. He's facing the south. Let me see. Lock was the one facing Williamson Valley, and then stock is facing towards Jerome. All right, as I said before, when you're looking for arts and humanities, go to the library. And I've got, they have a little bit of a collection of sculptures out there. One here to the left is actually also by Gene Gallazin. I mentioned him. He did grazing with the horses, and so he also does other interesting abstract found metal art. And he's quite a prolific artist, and he's donated quite a bit of pieces all across the Quad Cities. Down here, this piece is called Isabella, the flamingo, and it was made by Vivian E. Rucker, and it was installed in 2015. And then down here, the flora panels by Dan Moore, and they were installed in 2018. And then let's see, just because of time, I'm going to skip around here. If you want more information and question time, you can answer more. But this one here, I just want to point out, that's actually a time capsule. The yellow box there, and the granite mantis is sitting on top. But that time capsule will be opened on August 30th, 2070. So I didn't list what is in there, but it was put in 2020. August 2020 is when it was buried. So we'll see. All right, and then the bird here, Patricia Payasano, Countryman Friend is what it's called. Also, another one by Vivian Rucker Wells, probably the same year, but it didn't list. And then this one here is a 225 million year old petrified wood that was created, or that was installed inside this metal sculpture done by a local artist, Ruben Bogunia, in 2021. All right, also in Chino Valley, the 9/11 Memorial. Have any of you seen this one before or know of it? A few of you. So this actually is a piece from one of the I-beams of the actual one of the Twin Towers, and it was part of a national project to create memorials across the nation. I thought that was so cool that we have one of those in our community. It was made by an artist, so they received the I-beam steel and from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and this was built from artist and businessman Newell Roundy, and it was installed back in 2013. They actually they have a memorial service there. I don't know if they do it every year, but I think they did either this past 9/11 or just a few years ago. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's on the area called, the Chino Valley Old Home Manor. I don't know if that's a privately owned or a public space. It's land. Yeah, there's other stuff. So, okay. So, let's see. So yeah, if you go check that out, it's really it's quite neat to see. It's striking. All right, Dewey-Humboldt. This back here, this faded area is Iron King Mine, which I heard next month, we've got a gentleman coming to speak about the mining in the area, so that'll be a really interesting, speech. So in front, sorry, lost my place. So as I've already said, when you were looking for public art, go to the library. So this here is inside the Dewey Public Library. Any of you been to the Dewey Library? Like probably a one-room schoolhouse originally, I would guess. It is a tiny little place. You walk in, and then you can go down the stairs, or just the one area where the library is. But if you go down the stairs, that's the Friends of the Library bookstore downstairs. And then as you step out, there's another building down there, which we'll talk about in a moment. So when I did visit the library, I asked, so does Dewey have any public art or sculpture? She didn't laugh at me, but she kind of went, and pointed behind her to show me this. This is Dewey's public art. So it's an expressive, nice, very simple, Wild Western scene. And it was not even, you can see that the edge on the top is exposed plywood. So this was just like scrap wood. They just threw some paint on there. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. So they didn't necessarily have public art in Dewey, but turns out Monday nights they have free art night. Cool, all ages. They supply art supplies and space, and she said, worst case, if no one wants to do anything, she's at least got a giant coloring page. She said people can just sit around and color together. So, creating space for people to be creative is an important thing. So as I mentioned, you go out the library. So I'm showing you this wall because the other thing that she heard word of is potentially a future mural, which is exciting. So as I said, when you go out the Friends of the Library bookstore, to your right is the Kate Garber Community Center. Have any of you ever heard of the Kate Garber Community Center? So it's been around for several years. I guess it was more active before COVID. Unfortunately, like many other places in the area, had to close down during COVID. But they had a grand opening just a couple weeks ago, and they are some of the current services that they're offering is space for rent. And I actually have their brochures out here in the foyer, so if that's something you're interested in checking out, you can take a look at those brochures. The other thing that they do is they offer day-old bread, so they've got like a just a little shelf where people can come in and get free bread on a weekly basis. So that's always available if you have any people who need that service. That's there. They also are looking to remodel their kitchen to be a commercial kitchen. So locals who are doing small businesses who need a commercial kitchen for their business, they can actually rent that space. I thought that was such a cool idea because it's so needed and is not really very available for people. So I thought it was a neat thing that they're doing. So things to look out for at the Kate Garber Activity Center is not only a future mural, but there may be some future art classes there. So keep an ear out for that. Shameless plug. I'm going to teach art classes there. So if you want to come do some art classes with me, that's where I'll be. All right. All right, so also in Dewey is there, as I mentioned earlier, the state wanted the different communities to put together a centennial. I didn't necessarily come across the one in Chino Valley or Mayer. They might, I'm not sure, but I did come across this one, and they were claiming to be the historic mining district, or they are the historic mining district, and claiming to be the gateway to the historic mining district. And those pieces are all, where the town of Dewey-Humboldt building is, the faux facade. These are just kind of put in places around the parking lot there. Also in Dewey, I guarantee you all have driven by this. If you've gone to Phoenix, 100 times. That's the gas station that's in Dewey. It's right next to the subway. It is this giant Gila monster. Gila monster? Gila monster. What does? I'm not Gila monster. So funny. I was with my friend Susan, and I said, that is public art. We're taking a picture of it. All right. So Quad Cities and beyond. So what is in Mayer? So our first stop, as usual, is the public library. So this is a button tree that they had collected buttons across Yavapai County, and they patrons and staff and volunteers spent some time to put together this really cool collage mosaic in 2022. So I thought that was really neat. She also gave me a similar look when I said, "Are there any public art?" She went, But she did send me down to Big Bug Station. Who's familiar with Big Bug Station? Cool. That's where the art is in Mayer. As you can see, they've got the mural there, which is outside of what the former Mayer Mercantile Building. So originally known as Big Bug Station, Mayer was established in 1882 and was the main stage stop between Phoenix and Prescott on the Black Canyon Road at the time, but as we know it as the highway. So, and it is in the heart of Arizona. So, I am going to tell you a little history about Big Bug Station. So this is our final look here. So once upon a time, Mayer was a destination midpoint from Phoenix to Prescott along the Black Canyon Highway. Originally, Joseph Hoffmeyer was a teenage runaway and worked in various places over the years, including a Wild West circus. He changed his name to Mayer to hide from his family. That was funny. So Mayer and his wife, Sarah Bell, moved to the Mayer area, before it was Mayer, obviously, with their 4 children, and Sarah actually became the first postmistress there. The town became Mayer. So the railroad began servicing the town in 1989 after Mr. Mayer offered the right-of-way to the Southern Pacific Railroad with the agreement that they will run the rail right through Mayer. So Mayer purchased Big Bug Station, and it became a hot spot for people to rest on their way to Prescott along the Black Canyon Highway. It was a common place for miners to come to town for a little R&R as well, because they had access to a barber shop, a bath shop, a mercantile shop, a general store, and a saloon with a dance floor. All the arts and humanities, right? The Mayer Realty Investment Company was doing very well, and the town was incorporated in 1904 with the streets laid out and lots sold. He also was doing well enough, he funded the building of the 2 schools in the area. One was in town, and the other one was out of town, specifically for the miners' children. So that was nice. He's a very thoughtful guy. So tragically, in 1909, Joe Mayer heard a noise outside of his house, and he grabbed his rifle. He ran outside and tripped accidentally, and he shot himself. And the wounds were fatal, and he died just shortly after. So the community was devastated, and not just Mayer. We're talking the Quad Cities area. He was a very, very influential gentleman. And the businesses and the courts closed for the day. That's how important it was. And hundreds of mourners arrived for his funeral. And there were so many, in fact, that many of them had to stand outside of the church in the cold to pay their last respects. And apparently, this is the original outhouse. Hopefully, it's no longer. I don't think it's still in commission, but they got it. They fancied it up with some flowers and things, but that was the original outhouse. And this here is the mural that the librarian, from my understanding, said they touched up the bread mural. Might have been a few years ago, because it looks pretty worn out, but also the other mural seemed more vibrant, so I may have misunderstood, but the other one that was like the Wild West scene is on the other side, and then this one is here. Kind of fun little part of our history. And actually, if anyone's looking for rentals, this place here is actually a studio for rent. Isn't that cool? And then there's 2 other buildings on the other side that are for commercial use. One specifically says it's a workshop. So if anyone wants to go in with me on renting a artist studio space for another public art hub in Mayer, let me know. Let's talk, right? Yeah, right, exactly. Bathroom facilities intact, no problem. So that does conclude my overview of the arts and humanities in our precious Quad Cities. Thank you again for being here today.